Ooh. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to a Friday session, Friday, July 29th. This is CryptoManiacs test. It's already like basically summer's over. I don't know about you, but in Canada we have this long weekend and it's called the civic holiday. We always have different holiday. It's called the civic holiday. I don't even know what that means. The first week of August or like the last weekend in July. And that, when I was growing up, first of all, it represented Caravana Weekend in Toronto, which was like the highlight of the year. But second, that was like summer's over. Like summer's done. Like you're in Florida, so you have summer 24/7, 365. But us in the northern climates, we take our summers very seriously. And the long weekend, end of July, civic holiday, it's like, that's it. That's it. Wrap it up. Snow's coming. Forget it. Your bikinis are put away. Your swim trunks are put away for another year. That's it. You don't have that problem down in Florida.
Well, but don't forget where I grew up. For us, it was Labor Day, which is right. Labor Day is the first Monday of September, and it's a 3-day weekend. And a lot of times that traditionally is the end of summer. School for the kids usually starts the Wednesday after Labor Day, so kids are back to school. So it's really, everybody has the mindset of, okay, big Labor Day parties and barbecues, and typically that's when, or not long thereafter, people start closing up their pools or getting their pools ready for winter and stuff like that. So that's true across the northern part of the states also, I believe. But yeah, down here, no, we got another 2.5, maybe potentially 3 months of heat and humidity before we get a break.
Heat and humidity in Florida. You mean you get a break for that? No.
Well, everything's relative, and we get the drop in November typically gets us down into, where the peak will be in the 80s. The high will be in the mid 80s or something like that, which is very comfortable, especially once the humidity simmers down. But, now we got low 90s with 98% humidity, which just is, you sweat.
You sweat. You just breathe and you sweat.
Yeah, you go. I went yesterday to the supermarket and gotta love walking on asphalt at the end of July in Florida at about 11 in the morning. It's, nice and toasty.
Nice and toasty. How's been your week though? Like other than the toasty walk to the supermarket,
other than the task of having to go to the supermarket, which is not in my top 10 favorite things to do, I will grant you. It's been okay. I mean, just been busy and working on Leo Glossary and doing the stuff. It's my weeks don't change because it's just about what's going on with Hive and the development. I don't follow the markets per se with an emotional interest. If I do follow, it's just kind of with a glancing eye. And, I did check Hive this morning. It's at about 53 cents. But if it was at 43 cents or 63 cents, I still feel the same. It was like, okay, well, the Hive or the HBD pump was an interesting situation, 4 or 5 days ago, whenever that happened. But, it's long term, when you're focused long term like we are and you're focused on building and you're just counting down. I mean, I'm getting very itchy for threads with Leo Finance. I'm getting very itchy for the super duper retro app from CTP team. And right now I got neither. Actually, that's misleading. I have been testing threads a little bit for Cal and throwing stuff up there, but I'm not a big tweetster, so
you get on Tweetster though. Tweetster's fun. It's like a mix between Twitter and Friendster. Tweetster. Yeah, I like it.
It's I think Threads is going to be very popular. I think a lot of people who are into Twitter and are on Hive and like Leo Finance. Actually, you don't even have to like Leo Finance because it's a general purpose use case. So you can basically send out short form content on whatever the hell you want. If you want to talk about, how you stubbed your big toe, well, go right ahead. So it's just, kind of a Twitter, very, very minimal at this point. I will say that. I don't know what will be added before the release, if anything. But it's a big step in the direction, and this is a test case to see if the technology will work, and that will eventually be integrated into Project Blank, which you and I are very, very optimistic about and for. We're anxious for that and optimistic about the long-term potential of it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I had a pretty good week too. I mean, I tried something different. I usually, like, when I get ideas for posts, I write them down, and I kind of, like, it's a piece of paper and it gets lost on my desk. I actually structured my week this week with ideas for posts that I had written down, and I got through them all. I got a nice award from Hive Buzz yesterday. My post was the #1 commented post on the blockchain, so I got a little badge for that, which was cool. It was the whole SBI conversation. I don't know if you had a chance to check that out, but it was a fascinating discussion. Lots of really good information. Apparently, the big bad wolves have left the building, so SBI is now, well, it's called HSBI, Hive stake-based income, no longer Steam-based income, but basic income. So it's a pretty cool little project. I know there's people that are on the fence with it. But it was a really cool discussion, and it was great to see the community show up to my blog, but commenting on it, because it's a topic, right? And it was cool. So that was good. So
yeah, I got a question for you, since this is question and answer day.
Yes, please.
And it ties into the weekly news, if we're going to do that as part of our Friday segment, which for this week it seems we are. The airdrop for Splinterlands ended this week, and we have this SPS. Some of us have it staked, and now you need to tell me, what the hell do I do with my SPS that's staked now that the airdrop's in? What the hell do I do with it? I'm earning 32%, which is fine. That's an outstanding return, and I got it staked right now. Is there anything to do with this stuff right now? Do we just hodl it?
That's what I'm doing. I reached my target that I wanted to hit, and I'm staking it. Literally staking it. Like you said, it's like 30-something%. So I'm getting voucher every day, and I'm getting SPS every day, put into my pocket. I don't need to think about it. There's the liquidity pools, which seems to be the big attention grabber. I'm a little, like, I read it on paper and I was really fascinated, so I went and I got into one of the pools. I did the SBS Swap Hive pool on Tribal Decks. I have no idea how it's working. I don't even know if it is working, because it's saying I'm getting rewards, but I haven't seen where they're going. Apparently, things are not ironed out. I talked to Adrian on his post a couple days ago about it, and he's like, yeah, he doesn't think it's totally working yet. I don't know what's going on there, man. It's like Hive Engine's this really good idea that seems to have problems executing itself. I don't know what's going on with that, so I can't, even though I made a post this week about this is what I'm doing with my SPS, I can't really recommend it, because I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. If it's
there's an SPS pool on Leo Finance on Polycub also, which and
that's probably paying out.
But they pay out in Polycub. You get paid out in Polycub though, so
so for me, it's the no-brainer. The no-brainer for me is just staking it, because I believe in SPS long-term. I mean, I think it's going to be a fantastic governance token. It's the stuff they've got planned for it. You're going to need it to buy the Rift Watchers collection. You're going to be player staking down the road. So for me, it is definitely a hold. But the bonus is that you can hold it and stake it. And you stake it and you're getting 30% a year on it. So for me, it's just stake. Don't even think about it. So I'm just staking it and hoping that there's a little bit more clarity for the liquidity pools going forward here, because that was paying. It said on the post I was looking at, it was like 300% for a couple of those pools, and it apparently it went down to like 190%, but still that's crazy, right? So
Yeah.
But I just want a little bit more clarity before I start like rah-rahing the liquidity pools, because you know me, I'm just such a DeFi expert and fanboy. Oh, hi.
You're going to have to learn kicking and screaming, because if you're in crypto, and that was part of what I wrote this morning, there's going to be so much wealth generated out of cryptocurrency, because we're tokenizing and monetizing everything. And if you're involved in cryptocurrency, you're instantly going to be involved in DeFi. You can't get away from it. So, it's even if you take your high powered up, okay, now you got curation capability, plus you get the 2.89% or 93% or whatever the hell it's paying. And, that's not astronomical, but, it's still 3%. Or almost 3%, then your curation. So, these are things you have to keep in mind. And when we had McFarhad, and, even ActiFit is getting involved in DeFi, and, there's ways to, get boosters and things like that with different projects that can increase your return and get yourself extra tokens for, whether it's for governance like Polycub is doing with Vex Polycub, or it's, you get double upvote, or you get double this, or 20% more on that, or whatever the case may be. These are all concepts people are going to have to understand.
Yep. Yeah, it's a little. What was that? There was a comment I remember when Cub Finance came out. There was a guy on Twitter that said it, or as Logical Dude's watching on Vim, he says we should call it twatter. So twatter is good. Twatter is good. But it was a really cool comment that said, people are potentially losing out, because they're not going to spend a weekend learning about this DeFi stuff. Like, spend the time just to learn the basics of it. And Blaine Jones wants to know, dear sir, why do you wear sunglasses inside?
Because it's bright in here. John's personality just shines through my laptop. His sunny disposition. I mean, that's one of the reasons for Leo Glossary, to be honest with you, John, is I do want a resource center where people can go and get some understanding of what this stuff is, and to have a list of terms that people can easily look up and understand, not only from the ability to find a quick link to post an article, which is certainly valid and should add more value to the readers of the article. But a lot of this stuff, a lot of these terms, I mean, they do come from traditional finance, and most people quite simply don't understand them. Then you start to get into DeFi, and you start to get into financialization, monetization, tokenization, crypto economics, whatever terms you use, DeFi, staking and powering up and APRs and APYs. And to a lot of people, that's just overwhelming. But, let's be honest. If you want to have financial abundance, if you want wealth and you want to build wealth, you're going to have to start understanding some of these concepts and how to apply them to your wallets and to your holdings. And, what is MetaMask? You may not like it, but at least you need to know what it is and what Ethereum is. And, what are the drawbacks? What are transaction fees? How do they play into all of this? And then, we are getting into the day and age where social media is integrated with DeFi, or will be integrated with DeFi, this Web 3.0 or whatever you want to call it. So, you have to understand this stuff. And should I invest in CTP, or should I invest in listeners? Which token is best for that platform? What am I getting out of each? Am I staking? What am I receiving? Is any of them an access token? I mean, these are questions you have to be able to answer for yourself to make the best decision. because, obviously the best approach I would say is CTP and list nerds, and you just keep accumulating both. But there may be a situation where it's like, no, I mean, I'm better off just dumping my list nerds and going all in on CTP or vice versa. But how do you make that decision if you don't understand what any of this crap is?
Yep. It's a really good point, man. Do the work, man. Do the due diligence. Find out for yourself. Don't be afraid to read some white paper. Speaking of reading, we have some questions. We didn't get a ton of questions, which was funny because people in the CTP Discord were saying, "Hey, where's the post? Where's the post?" I post it, and then it was like crickets. It was awesome.
Typical.
Yeah. But let's fire it up. Of course, if you guys want to take part in this fun stuff each and every week, I'm thinking because of this this brouhaha with all the SBI stuff, I'm still a fan of SBI. I know a lot of people might not be, but I think it's a great way to encourage people to engage more. So everyone who put out a comment or a question this week, I sent you guys an SBI or HSBI token. So thank you guys for helping us move forward every day. Do you like that? You like that? That's my my tagline for the post. Moving forward every day. No, okay.
Yeah. I think it's awesome.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And Tom is awesome. Alente is up. He wants to know, my Hive upvote seems to be taking longer to power up, and they are also using more Hive power. Can you talk about this? Seems odd. I don't think anything's changed as far as I know. Still takes about 24 hours to percent back, right?
That won't change. The resource credits have been a little temperamental, and there's times throughout the day, depending on when you're interacting, they've gotten a little expensive. So your amount of activity in terms of your resource credits and the burning of your resource credits could be in play. There's also, I think, been an uptick in the amount of Hive that's powered up. I think we're over 160 million. I think we were at like 130 a few months back. So maybe that has something to do with it too. I don't know. I know that happened with Leo. If you find your Leo vote went way down, well, all those LPUDs are having an effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that too with the resource credits. Because me and Blaine, we claim accounts with my account because I got the Hive power. So we're claiming accounts all the time, and you'll notice it. Like, it's steady, and then all of a sudden it takes a lot more resource credits to claim the account than it did like the last time you claimed one. So, it's just I guess it's the mechanisms. That's why the developers get paid the big bucks, Tom, and why Task and I just show up and dance on camera for you guys. Yes, good question. C-Poll is up. Is it recommendable to keep gathering tokens nonstop forever? I would love to make some passive income with them, but I do recognize the right moment to begin taking profits from them. That's a fantastic question. One of my favorite. I'm going to just do a little story time with John. One of my favorite content creators for Splinterlands is a guy named Infidel 1258. Really good guy. He's actually out of Canada. And he was talking about that yesterday on his latest post about like how liquid could my account on Splinterlands be if I needed to liquidate it all and sell it all? Like when should I take profits? When should I be thinking about this? And how easy is it to do it? That's a really good question. When should you take profits? I would take profits when everyone else is giddy. Like that's like not financial advice, but when everyone else is buying, that's probably when you would take some profits. When everyone is selling, that's when you kind of get a little greedy. And it's the complete opposite way of looking at it. I'm not an investor. I'm an idiot. I don't know this stuff, but I know how hard it is because you see red in the markets and you're like, danger, danger, danger. I need to get out. I need to get out. When it's green, it's like all warm and fuzzy. But it's actually the opposite of what you should be doing if you're thinking long-term and wealth building. That's a great question. I don't know. When would you take profits, Task, personally?
Well, I mean, if you look at a Bitcoin log chart and you look at it over 6, 7, 8 years, you can see why those early Bitcoiners are sitting on so much damn money. Again, it's your outlook on things. Trading's very difficult. It really is. And calling tops and things like that and taking profits, it's a good idea at times, but I mean, I haven't taken any of my hive out. You did due to circumstances, but not because you were taking profits. But both of us have long term optimism. Um, is it a bad idea if Hive hits $1.50 to sell some Hive? Maybe not. Certainly, that's nobody can argue with you, especially if you either earned it or you bought in at 50 cents or 48 cents.
Triple your money.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to argue. But of course, if you have the view that Hive's going to go to $10, then selling it $1.50 could be short circuiting yourself. But then again, if it goes to $1.50, you sell and it goes back to 50 cents, you can make out like a bandit. But trading's very difficult. Taking profits, that's getting into the trading realm. Warren Buffett operates from the philosophy he tries to buy stocks that he wants to hold forever. And he just keeps them long term and lets them build, lets them compound, and lets them grow. That's a very tough strategy, especially if you need the money. But, that's his approach. And fourth richest guy or seventh richest guy, whatever he is in the world, hard to argue with his success. But so it's like anything else. It depends on your own risk reward profile, depends on your needs, depends on your circumstances. I mean, let's be honest. If you have a pretty good paying job or you got a paying job that covers all your bills and you're not going to need to touch your crypto for 5 years, maybe you can play some of the games inside, certain tokens and say, okay, this thing had a nice run up. I'm going to take profits and then roll back into some of my core holdings. But if that's your situation, then you can say, I'm just going to look at crypto 5 years from now. And, I got projects that I believe will be very good 5 years from now. I got some Bitcoin, I got some Ethereum, I got some Hive, I got some CTP, Leo, whatever is in your core holding. And you just keep adding and adding to that position as extra money comes due. That's how you profit long term. If you can manage it, swing trading it, looking at charts and trading different indicators and trying to I don't want to say find tops and find bottoms, but find when the run's a little exhausted, take some money off the table, then wait for a pullback. If you can do that, that's fine. But it's very, very difficult to do. And invariably what blows up that strategy, it's like buy the dip. Buy the dip's a great strategy till the sucker crashes. Then you just add it to your position on something that's dropping like a rock. So you buy the dip and it just goes down another 60%. Well, you just rode a wave down, A, and B, you added to your ride down in velocity because you're heavier now. And same thing is at the top. If you take some profits and the thing goes up another 100%, you just shortchange yourself. But that's the markets. And if you do it and you do sell, don't look back and don't sit there and play that mental game. Oh boy, if I had held on to those 1,000 tokens, I'd now have $5,000 more. That'll drive you absolutely nuts. If the best thing to do in trading is establish your rules, write them down on a piece of paper, memorize them, and stick to them like there's a gun to your head. And, that's how people succeed in trading. You can't do it on the emotion and the whim because then you get into trouble. So
there you go. Good stuff. Hope that helps people. Dev Press. I wanted to ask one thing on the topic of the metaverse. And Blaine, I hope you're listening to this because this is right up our alley as well. Do you think there will be something similar to the email marketing inside the metaverse or those virtual world? Do you think there would be an option to marketing to people inside those worlds? Second Life is a perfect example for this, just without even thinking this. And now Second Life is a private company owned by Linden Labs, and it is definitely not decentralized. It's definitely not what you would consider a crypto project, but this thing's been around for 20 years now or so, 15 at least. The entire thing was built on people selling digital real estate inside of the world, inside of the Second Life world. This created millionaires in the real world They were selling marketing agencies, real estate, clothing, you name it. Is absolutely there will be massive options for marketing and sales inside of these digital frontiers. Oh my gosh, like to me that's mind-blowing to think of. And I know you're the metaverse guy. What do you think about like the potential actually selling digital goods inside? And we see it with NFTs, and we're seeing all of this stuff. I totally am bullish on things like that.
It literally will be unlimited, or near unlimited. The thing is, and I it's been a while since I've talked about this, but you have to understand the digital realm, the virtual realm, whatever term you want to use. This is a realm that isn't dependent upon physics. The limitation is basically bandwidth and processing speed. That's our only limitation to all of this. And
Right.
so, as you know, communication systems improve, as processing speeds improved, as there's more storage and nodes connected, this thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and we can create more, build more, and there's really no limit. And so, you know, how many worlds can there be? You know, as much processing power is out there. That's about the only limitation.
Right.
And so when you start to look at this and you start to look at the opportunities, and we already see it, look at it in games. How much money is created by in games selling skins and weapons and fuel and upgrades to ships and all these different things. You know, these are already generating multi-billions in revenue. What's going to happen when we get into the metaverse? We see Digiland and Sandbox and some of these other things that already are taking this into the crypto world. So yes, and then you start with virtual billboards. I mean, just think about the fact that if you put on your headset or your glasses or your contact lenses or however the hell we interact with this thing, and all of a sudden you can be going down playing a racing game or whatever, and there's a virtual billboard you see. What happens when you get into virtual stores where you're actually ordering products, but the website, Amazon or Walmart or whatever the hell the website is, isn't a flat screen. It's a 3D store that you're actually going through while sitting on your sofa. And what's to say that all of a sudden you're in the ketchup aisle and it reads that you need ketchup, and all of a sudden, boom, there's, you know, some banner ads or whatever popping up for, you know, the different ketchups that are on sale or whatever. You know, and you just start thinking about this stuff and rolling this stuff out to any form of product and anything people value, anything that's a collectible, anything that has utility in a game or in engagement, in activity. You know, so you're going to have people designing clothes, and you're going to have designer watches in the virtual world, and that may be tied to Rolex, that may be tied to, you know, some name brands in the non-digital world, or it could be completely and totally new entities. You know, part of what I mentioned this morning, don't forget, you had 3 companies that were worth $1 trillion in market cap at one point: Amazon, Google, and Facebook. All 3 are internet companies. So you think about that, and you think about the wealth that's just been generated on those 3, forgetting the Twitter, forgetting the Snap, forgetting how much more that value that created for Apple because of mobile and the smartphone, you know, Tesla and the ordering online, all this other stuff that it just, if it wasn't the complete market cap, it enhanced the market cap. And now you just take that whole concept and put it on steroids in this idea of, you know, I don't even want to say the metaverse, because as I've said on here, that's to me is Web 5. But even Web 3 is going to put this whole thing on steroids. And so, yeah, as you start to get these different realms of virtual worlds and, you know, somehow we move from the 2D experience to a 3D experience. It's it's basically unlimited. And yeah, people large and small will be selling all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure there will be platforms and protocols and infrastructure built as a way for people to easily start utilizing these platforms or these protocols and start targeting people. And so all of a sudden you can use, like, just like Gmail set up a whole email system for people to use. Maybe List Nerds evolves and it moves from this 2D dimension into this 3D realm, multiverse, multi-world realm. And, it starts taking on another life or another form and evolves as the technology evolves. That would not surprise me. And I know you guys stay up on this stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if Blaine is already starting to think about this a little bit and keeping an eye on, what's going on out there. And over time, as things become clearer, it's opportunities will arise and it'll be like, bam, let's do it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on things like that. I learned of Second Life, over a decade ago, and I was just like, this is so cool. This is where this stuff is going to go. So if you are in internet marketing, affiliate marketing, online business, you name it, now is the time to start doing your research, start looking into this stuff, because yeah, like you said, Web 5, it might not be tomorrow that this stuff, but this is where stuff is headed. And anyways, really big opportunity for entrepreneurs out there to get into this stuff now. My path to fire. We touched on this earlier, but he said, any news on the Splinterlands now that the airdrop has ended? How does Tasty, the recent interest rate rising, affected the crypto markets and Hive? I'll touch on the Splinterland stuff. They actually released their updated roadmap this morning. You can check it out. Agro retweeted it as well. So if you're following him, or it's on the official in the Discord for Splinterlands, they just put the announcement up. There's the updated roadmap. So that's the news, and the news is pretty bullish. They got tons of stuff, quarter 3, quarter 4, and going into 2023. So lots of stuff on the horizon. Rift Watchers, Splinterfest, Rebellion is their new card set. That's what I guess they're releasing that next year. The price of DEC is so low, so people are actually getting a lot more packs right now than they could have this time a couple of months ago. So sales of the packs have been really, really good and steady. I know I've been buying packs again, but yeah, it's really exciting news for Splinterlands. I think
is that the what was it, the Chaos packs?
Chaos Legion.
Yeah. Is that still Chaos Legion you're buying?
Yeah, still Chaos Legion. So you're buying Chaos Legion. I think they got another 5 million or 6 million packs to sell, but they're doing pretty good because the price of DEC is so low. So you're not really paying $4 a pack. You're more paying like $2 a pack right now, which is right where Untamed was, the last card deck, major card release that they did. So the roadmap is finishing up Chaos Legion. In a month or two, Rift Watchers will be coming out, which is their mini pack. So similar to Dice a couple of like last year. Rift Watchers is unique because the only way you can buy these things is through SPS. Of course, they've raised the price, so it's $5 per pack worth of SPS. Blows my mind why they do this. I have no idea why they continue to raise prices on this stuff. Look what happens when the price of DEC. Freaking people are going nuts buying packs right now. When it was at $4 a pack, no one was really buying a thing. Not at all. As soon as the price dips. So raising the prices to the community, I think is, and I get it. You have bills to pay, inflation. No. I get it. But this is the fuel of the game. When packs are selling and packs are selling out, excitement is at like a all-time level for Splinterlands. So maybe they're pacing it, maybe raising the price. They're hoping things don't go too crazy, because we saw what happened when Untamed sold out. Excitement for Splinterlands was at fever pitch. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Blaine, this is the thing. They have Chaos Legion still going, and there's at least 5 or 6 million packs still. So there's 5 airdrops they still need to do, or something like that. In a month or two, Rift Watchers is coming out, and then next year is Rebellion. So they have 2 more card sets coming out in the next 6 months, potentially. I'm obviously not the smartest guy. around, but to me, like why don't we get chaos out and get that excitement back where it was last year, where people were like, I need packs. Where are the packs? I need cards. I need to buy cards. That's when Splinterlands went. Phoom. So
yeah, well, you were also in the bowl. Keep in mind.
True. Well,
I don't know if that's, if one has anything to do with the other, but it tends to be if the bull goes into hibernation. Well, bulls don't hibernate. If the bull goes away and the bear comes out, everything tends to go down, and any fevered pitch is less fevered. So I would presume Splinterlands is also affected by that.
Yeah. Well, we know, it's these guys aren't making enough money as it is, so we got to support them, right? That's what Logical Dude said in Vim. He's like, these guys need more money, man. I'm sitting here having to power down my hive just to, pay for the friggin' bills and stuff, and these guys are like taking trips to everywhere, selling things. That's,
Oh, watch out, John! You'll lose your card-carrying Splinterlands Inner Circle membership.
They don't, dude. I'm a peon in Splinterlands. Like, even though Index has, what do we have? 280,000 SPS. Like, we're one of the bigger account holders. Like, there's some guys with millions of SPS, but we are peons. The entire CTP community, we are peons on the blockchain. We're never mentioned. We like that. We like being the guys that are under the radar, and then all of a sudden it's like, where did listeners come from? It's like, we've been building things. Anyways.
Yeah, well, they'll be saying, where'd this retro app come from?
Where'd the retro app come from? The Content Discovery Network.
As opposed to me, who's asking, where the hell is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
How does TAS see the recent interest rate rising affecting the crypto markets and Hive? How do you see that?
Well, interest rates haven't been rising. That's the fallacy. I mean, obviously the Fed raised the Fed fund rate, but as you were talking, John, I pulled up the bond market, and it's been red since the Fed raised their rates. The bond market, especially the long end, is not buying into this. The 10 years at 2.63. This thing peaked, I think it was June 14th at like 3.25. So for 7 weeks, the 10 year and the 30 year have been moving down, which tells you that, and Irvin Fisher talked about this 100 years ago, the long end of the yield curve in the bond market, and by the way, the euro-dollar market says the same thing. Actually, the euro-dollar market, the yield curve is even worse than the U.S. Treasuries. And basically what it says is growth and inflation expectations are for shit. The bond market does not see it. Powell, I made a video before we came on air. Powell in the other day came out and said they've reached what they call neutral rates, which is the idea that the interest rate that they're at is not positively or negatively affecting the economy. It has no impact, which to me is just a bullshit metric, because how the hell do you know? But they're at neutral rates. So the market has been running, the equities market, because Powell said we are now data driven. So the market took that to mean we're not going to blindly just keep raising rates and crush the economy, even though the U.S. economy is already in recession. The economy wasn't that great coming out of the COVID lockdowns. We had high prices, which that was the recovery. There was really no recovery by volume. And so what you now have is you have a situation where the Fed is going to be based upon data. The problem is we know they're still looking at inflation and unemployment. They're still running the Phillips curve, which many studies have just obliterated that since that became popular in the 1960s. And the Phillips curve has as much relevance to this as, talking about Babe Ruth and the 27 Yankees. So what's my prognosis? Keep an eye on the bond market. It looks like, and you can't say for certain, but it looks like bonds are bottoming out I haven't taken the gumption yet and started to see the activity of the major bond players, the pro bond group, who live and die by bonds. But if they're not buying, I don't believe they're too far away from buying. And why that's important is because the fixed income market rebounds first, then you have the risk on market. And the risk on market is obviously your equities, especially your more volatile, high growth equities like Tesla, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, Apple, those type of things. But it's also crypto. So, how do I read this move in interest rates? I read the markets laughing it off. The market is the bond market, which is $120 trillion, by the way. So this is typically, it's bigger than the equity market. It's shrugging it off and saying the Fed's on the wrong path. And I've said that for months. And look at Walmart's earnings call. What did Walmart say? Our inventory still sucks. People are spending more on food and energy, so they're not buying electronics and clothing. And we're going to have to aggressively discount the prices to move that stuff. And oh, by the way, keep in mind, all the inventory has not reached shore. There's still ships out there coming to the United States primarily, I talk about, since it's the largest economy. And there's more inventory still coming. So, that is a forward-looking indicator. When certain sectors of the economy start to have their sales stalling, we know what comes. And that's usually layoffs. And so as those people in those industries start to lose their jobs, maybe if you're in the oil industry, you're doing great. Maybe if you're in some of these other industries, you're doing great. But, you start to see if you're in a clothing industry, or if you're in the furniture industry, or you're in the consumer electronics industry, you might find you're out of a job. And that's what happens is as people start to lose their jobs, and they're spending more on food and energy when they can't get around it, those sectors start to implode. And that's where you start to get this switch from, I'll use the contemporary terms, from inflation to disinflation, and ultimately potentially to deflation. It's not a switch that's flipped overnight. It starts in certain areas like leaks or cracks in a dam, and then just keeps spreading and growing until the dam eventually breaks. And so you'll see things like oil probably be the last to break. But look at the industrial metals. They're down severely from their peaks. Well, what are industrial metals used for? They're used for production, economic manufacturing. Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure out why they're crashing, because they're not being used. Companies aren't building as much.
This kind of goes along with it. Jimmy wants to know, with the recession freak out here in the U.S., can that have a positive impact on crypto?
Well, the freak out on the recession is very interesting. Well, that's one way to alleviate the gas costs, Blaine. Don't leave the house. And, I actually, this shows you how much driving I've been doing. I went out yesterday food shopping, and I looked and I'm like, wow, gas prices are down. Where I am, it's under $4 a gallon. And the last time I was out, it was like at $4.60 or something. So it's like, but that's bouncing around like a Mexican jumping bean. So, I mean, oil is going to keep going up and down and all that. But the recession, here's my view. We have a technical recession, but even if the U.S. economy was up last quarter 0.1% or 0.2% or even 1%, and it was not a recession, it's like the old saying, if you lost your job, you're not in a recession, you're in a depression. I mean, things suck. And so a technical recession, not a recession, it doesn't really matter, because my view is you ain't seen nothing yet. I always felt the second half of this year was going to be worse. And I think things are going to accelerate, and the next 90 days are going to be very tough. Will that help crypto? No, because crypto is not a safety move. We saw this in March and April of 2020 when this COVID thing hit and the lockdowns hit, and every market under the sun, including gold, just collapsed. What didn't collapse? The dollar. Why? Everybody ran to the dollar. The dollar is the safe haven. And if people are fearful, and this is where we've been sold a bill of goods and a bunch of bullshit, especially by the Bitcoin maxis. Bitcoin maxis said, oh, well, Bitcoin's a great hedge against inflation. Well, 40-year prints on the CPI, and guess what? Bitcoin's down 65 or 70%. So obviously that's a load of shit. Well, Bitcoin is a great investment because the dollar's going to crash. Well, guess what? The dollar's at like a 20-year high. So you start to look at these things, and people say, well, that's against other currencies. Well, look at U.S. Treasuries. Look at the T-bills. I mean, these people are paying premiums on 4-week and 8-week T-bills. I mean, they're pushing the rate 50% below the reverse repo rate, which should be the floor, which means they want the collateral. That's how much of a shortage in U.S. dollars there are globally. So, and then the other thing, as an indicator of the dollar is Japan and China are selling their treasuries. And this idea that they're selling them to de-dollarize is bullshit. They're de-dollared. They don't have enough dollars to pay their debts, which are U.S. dollar denominated. So the banking system need to sell the treasuries to get the dollars in the banking system. So these, Evergrandes and these other entities who have to pay their debts or have to engage internationally can do it. So cryptocurrency is not a safe haven. Cryptocurrency, if you want to watch cryptocurrency, watch Amazon, watch Tesla, watch your high PE, high multiple, high growth stocks, because when risk is off, they get crushed. When risk is off, crypto gets crushed. When risk is on, then they'll take off. I have yet to see anything that tells me that crypto is a safe haven for economic headwinds, for market collapse. People do not sit here and say, oh my God, the stock market's crashing. I got to sell my Tesla and go into Bitcoin. They're not doing that. They say, I got to sell my Tesla, or I got to sell my Amazon, and they go into cash. They go into the US dollar. Or if they want to stay in the market, they may go to a Procter and Gamble or some of your dividend stocks or stuff like that. But they're not going into cryptocurrency, and I think that point is perfectly obvious. So we have to trade it, and if you wrote it down, stay in it, because guess what? The risk on the bull will return. I think the positioning is towards the end of the year. I might be wrong with my timing, but I think 2023, at the latest, the second quarter will be a tremendous run for cryptocurrency. And it might even be a little before that. It goes back because people think the Fed has power. What does the Fed do? What comes out of Powell's mouth? I think they'll probably keep watching the same bullshit. So they'll raise rates in September, but by November, I think they'll have a much more dovish tone. And that's when I expect the positioning to start taking place for the bull run in crypto. So buy crypto now and wait for 2023. I mean, it's not financial advice, Blaine, but yeah, I mean, it's we might have more downside, but I mean, could Bitcoin go to 10,000? Sure. Is this run to 25,000 the reversal and the start of a bull market in Bitcoin? I don't believe so. I think it's maybe a dead cat bounce, but who knows? But I don't know if all of this is over. I don't see the risk on trade permeating the market. So I find it very difficult to believe that crypto will run until that takes place. And I do believe that'll take place in 2023, because there is no way in hell the Fed keeps tightening into 2023.
There you go. And that was State of the Economy with Taskmaster 4450. Great questions, Jimmy, and my path to fire. And finally, to end it up, we got Best Star. This is John. He said, what exactly is a hard fork? What are some of the bigger hard forks, would you say? Would you say the Bitcoin BCH would be, other than Hive and Steam? I mean, we could talk that, but I guess the big one would be the Bitcoin and BCH fork.
Ethereum Classic. Those were the big ones. A hard fork is when they fork a blockchain and it's on purpose. It's done intentionally. It's planned, and you may or may not end up with two chains. Depends on what they keep going with what you said with Bitcoin and Bcash and Ethereum Classic, Hive, and Steam. There were two chains that kept going. The last hard fork we did, what number are we coming up to, John?
26 is coming up. So 25.
Okay, so a little over a year ago, we had hard fork 25, and that forked the Steam blockchain, except all the witnesses ran the new software, so the old fork just didn't continue on, or however you say it, it moved with this chain, but you didn't end up with two chains that continued forward. And so the presumption is hard fork 26 will be accepted by the witnesses, and so then you'll end up with only one fork. Blockchains can fork, and Blaine would know more about this than I would, but you have at times where blocks will just start going a little wacky and a little haywire. And, Block Trades talks about this in some of his articles, where they do stuff to try to minimize that and to bring things back and to discount these hard forks, which then they become like orphan blocks because they just float out there. You let them go because they're really not part of the chain. But there's a lot to it from a technical standpoint. What did Blaine say? It's changing the database that if you don't make the changes on your witness, you will not be on the same chain anymore. Yeah, exactly. So hard fork 25, all the witnesses updated their software, so they all continued on the same chain together. I guess from what Blaine's saying, if somebody kept running the old software, they theoretically would have then been running another chain in a different direction. But a lot of times the hard forks, I think when the when the average person talks about it, they're like you, John. They talk about, well, it's a result of a fight. It's a result of disagreement over governance or block size or something. And okay, fuck you. We're going to fork it out and we're taking our ball and going this direction. And we've seen that. And you see that Bitcoin's been forked how many different times? Who the hell knows?
Bitcoin Diamond.
Bitcoin Diamond, BSV, Bcash. I think wasn't there a Bitcoin Gold or something.
Yeah.
Hell, I think even Litecoin was a fork of Bitcoin. So
it was,
and then Litecoin's been forked, I think, a few times too. So, it's. And by the way, this isn't only in blockchain. People fork software. That's what you're doing is software. And you hear the term fork in software all the time. So it's just people take existing software out there and pull it over and make some changes to it and say, okay, we're going to do this differently.
Well, the way I look at it too is I try to, like, people ask me all the time, especially people that aren't familiar with blockchain stuff, and I try to keep it really simple, and this, as simple as can be. And this is basically what I say. Generally, this is how it works. Blockchains, a block is confirmed, it moves forward. A block is confirmed, it's moved forward, move forward, move forward. Blocks do not reverse. They can. I'm sure there's ways that people do it, but generally a blockchain continues to move forward. You can't go back and edit things and change things. So what you do is you reach consensus. The witnesses say, we want to change the code. And instead of going back, what they have to do is they have to move forward. So what they do is they fork it. So the orphan chain or whatever, legacy chain or whatever, continues to go. And then the consensus is reached and it forks. So now what happened was Steam kept going with Steam, and Steam does whatever Steam does. But that hard fork that forked changed certain things that consensus is reached, and they just forked it. They took the code and forked it, and all of a sudden now you have two chains going in different directions. So they didn't edit things, they didn't go back. Now Steam did, because they are a little suspect, and they edited things and the whole nine, and they reached consensus and they whatever. But generally, as blocks are confirmed, they can't be reversed and changed. So
you look at from the Genesis block of Steam, to the fork, Hive incorporated all of those blocks. We went back to the Genesis block. So
Right.
you look at Hive and Steam, if you read each of those blocks, all those blocks are the same from Genesis right to the date of the fork, whatever block number that was. From the next block, the block that was the fork, then the data that was in that block and the data that was in the Steam block are different. So now from the date of fork, March of 2020, all the data in those blocks is different than the data that's in the Steam blocks.
Right.
Because, we have a different currency, we have different transactions, we have different posts, we have different things being put in. So it's all different data. Yep. And again, that's what you got to think about with blockchain. It's a database. I mean, Blaine is right in his comment there. It's a database. So what is the data in there up to the point of the fork? And then all of a sudden, we were writing to a different database effectively than the Steam people were. And, then Steam was forked again for Blurt. And they're writing different data than all of us. And they implemented different rules and different things that
whale shares.
What?
Whale shares. You remember whale shares?
No. Whale shares. Golios.
Yep.
Well, wasn't Minds a fork of Steam also? I thought I read.
Dude, I lost track. We've been forked so many times.
Yeah, and it's and again, you can write different code in there and set up different rules. So, for example, the Hive code now has the 30-day window to power up when you power up for governance issues. I can guarantee you that's not in the Steam code. Right. Whatever they're implementing, resource credit delegations, that'll be in the Hive code. That won't be in the Steam code. Mm-hmm. Now they may copy and paste it, but I don't even think they're doing that over there.
Like Logical said, thank God for the Hive blockchain. We are very lucky to be here. Speaking of lucky, we are always lucky to have your questions each and every week. Don't be shy next week. Remember, we're giving out HSBI sponsorships for everyone that takes part in these little Q&A sessions. Task will gladly answer your questions and concerns. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you listening in, watching, and Task got a busy weekend ahead, I'm sure, creating, commenting, and curating. Yeah. You guys have a fantastic weekend. Be good to each other.